All right, and now we're live.
All right, good evening, everyone. I will now call to order Apex Town Council special meeting for Wednesday, October 6, 2021. And the purpose of this meeting is to discuss downtown parking to dining and a related alcohol ordinance. So to ensure that we do have a attendance here for the meeting tonight, I would do a roll call. If you would respond with here. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier, I know she's not going to be here, so she will move to Council Member Killingsworth. I think she's not going to be here either, so we'll move now to Council Member Gant.
Here.
All right, thank you. Council Member Stallings.
Here.
Thank you. Council Member Mahaffey.
Here.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. So we'll move right now into the presentation that will be, my understanding, presented tonight by Ms. Colleen Moraes. So Ms. Moraes, if you would take us away.
Hi, good evening. So per direction from the last town council meeting, and the changes to the alcohol ordinance by House bill that was signed into legislation by the governor on September the 10th, we've made some adjustments to our original idea of adding 2 parklets to bring back the parking to dining program downtown. The new design, which I will share here in a second, essentially adds 4 parklets on Salem Street between Saunders and Chatham, 2 small parklets on the essentially like the west side, and then 2 smaller parklets on the east side. Essentially, we've got parklets that would be utilized by Fresh Local Ice Cream, the Provincial, Anna's Pizzeria, La Rancherita, and Mission Market. I know Mr. Myers on the phone. He can talk better about the changes to the alcohol ordinance if you would like questions or have questions for him on that.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Moraes from council?
Yeah. Let me my hand. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Ms. Moraes. So the issue at hand was a little bit fresh, I guess, in the last meeting, and there was a series of steps that were described about how this was one of them, to go from having the authority to be able to serve alcohol in the full service on these parklets. Do we know more about that now, and have we gotten confirmation that these businesses intend to go through that process and intend to use these parking spots for dining in the full service capacity?
For the 3 businesses that have ABC permits, on-site premise permits, that would be Anna's, La Rancherita, and the Provincial. They do plan to file for the extended. It's just a filing. Once they get the information from the town, should this pass this evening, they basically just file with the local ALE for the extension. That's my understanding of it. Mr. Meyer, I don't know if you have a different understanding of it, but that's my understanding, that it's a fairly easy process for this extension, because it's just extending their existing permit to go into these essentially town-owned areas where the parklets are.
Yeah, that's correct. The one step that was missing was having the permission that's afforded by the state statute that allows them to do that. And first, the town has to adopt an ordinance allowing that before they can take those steps. So if that's passed tonight, then they'll have to come up with a diagram, send that to ALE, the things Colleen was mentioning, so that the steps they'll have to take after.
Okay, and just a quick follow-up before Mr. Mahaffey goes. Do we anticipate like that process being smooth enough that they'll be able to use it for like this weekend, for example?
It would be an assumption. I don't know how ALE is processing these extensions.
Yeah, it's a submission to ALE. It's a diagram and a submission to them. There's no real guidelines as to what it has to include other than a diagram. And they don't need a particular approval. They just have to submit it. So that would be beyond the town's hands, I guess.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Mahaffey.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually wanted to comment on Councilmember Gant's question to let him know and the rest of my colleagues. And I touched on this over email, but I spent most of Saturday afternoon downtown talking to area businesses, both the restaurants and the retailers, about this potential change and letting them know what happened in this recent change in the law and how we were looking to get their thoughts on it. And that resulted in this kind of amended design here. And I did speak with all the owners there and confirm they intended to use it. One of the owners actually feels quite passionately they actually don't need permission. They feel like their existing ABC permit does already extend to the middle of the street and all they need is a table out there. But I'm sure maybe Colleen's had that conversation with them as well. And I'm not a lawyer, but so there's some disagreement there. But in any case, this makes it pretty unambiguous. And I'll just reiterate that the intention here is to kind of return almost to the status quo what we had over the summer. This is actually a compromise a little bit between what was initially proposed and what we had over the summer. I'm pretty happy with where we're at. I'm confident it'll be used, and I appreciate my colleagues considering this matter, considering how late breaking the law is. But as I said last Tuesday, the issue to me is, we only have a couple weeks left here. If we're going to do it, we got to do it now or not do it at all. Daylight's wasting. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilmember Stallings.
Yes, I would just like to chime in and just thank Mr. Meyer for working so hard on getting the ordinance so quickly done since our last council meeting. I appreciate Mr. Mahaffey for your diligence in talking to so many of our businesses. And I was looking for a compromise so that it could be a balance between restaurants and retail. And I think that's exactly what we have. And I like it. And I appreciate the work done. To me, it's a win-win. And I think I would support this moving forward.
Okay, thank you. I think it's great also, and all the work that's been done by Ms. Moraes, and thank you, Councilmember Mahaffey, for your work as well. Again, I go back to what I said in the council meeting Tuesday night. I just want to make sure that the police department is not put in the middle of something with regard to any violation. So I hope there's a education being done with the business owners about the ALE and our police department are taken care of in that regard. So that's my only concern. Councilmember Gant.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I guess my last comment is, so I feel passionately about our permanent changes we're thinking about making in downtown, including some of the widening sidewalks. And I don't want anything to mess that up. I don't want the perception of things being haphazard or spots being not used, I guess could theoretically happen in this case. So I plan to support this, but it's a little bit of trust that it actually will get used, and I appreciate Mr. Mahaffey's efforts, and I hope that the ALE process is smooth or even not needed, I guess, in one case potentially. But it's just I really don't want to mess that long-term vision up with something that's not effective now. And I know it's kind of temporary, but it would be a bad look, I think, if it wasn't being used like it should be.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Stallings.
I would just like to follow up on what the mayor's concerns were. Ms. Moraes or Mr. Meyer, can you comment on that in terms of the police and how they would work in terms of helping us to facilitate this? Do you envision any confusion with them?
I could speak to the police because I know Chief Armstrong has been contacted about this, that Ms. Crosby reached out to him to make sure that he was okay with this and he understood that there wouldn't be any problem from the police department end. ALE, obviously, we wouldn't have much say over whether or not they're going to question this. I feel confident we're taking the steps on the town side with this ordinance to do what is required by the law. If ALE was to view it differently, I'm not sure how they would. But I don't know that anybody's reached out to them in particular. In terms of notifying the businesses to make sure they're in compliance, I would defer to Colleen on that.
Yeah, I plan to, following tonight's council meeting, should this be approved, to forward to those businesses that have ABC permits the ordinance as well as the letter that we need to submit from Town Manager Crosby in regards to this, and just give them essentially the steps that they need to do with the ALE to file this extension. What they do with that at that point is really on them. We're doing what we need to do from the town's end to allow this, to make sure that it's following the law and that we're giving them permission. So they've assured me that they're going to do that. So I will assume that from a legal standpoint that they'll be fine. But that's, again, that's an assumption, assuming that they do what they're supposed to do.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. Meyer, do we need just one motion for the parklet and a separate motion for the ordinance?
You could do it as two, or you could do them all together. It'd be a motion to approve the ordinance as well as the design here, or you could just do it two separately if that's easier.
Okay, Councilmember Mahaffey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move we approve the parklet design as presented and the ordinance as presented.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I second it, Councilmember Stallings.
Second, Stallings. Any further discussion? All right.
I
all in
would just
favor?
encourage, oh, sorry, I would just encourage staff, if something does mess up with this, if ALE is just slow, like some other government agencies can be, I hope we get some information and can react quickly to this. So that's, I guess, a request to make sure that we're all on track with everything.
Thank you, sir. Any more discussion?
I concur with Councilmember Gann. I mean, this is a new law. We're trying to follow what the law says. We're doing the best we can. And I think to Councilmember Gann's point, if it doesn't work out, if there's something unforeseen that comes up, you know, we can adjust. That's just the nature of doing new things. You know, the law just passed. So I'm happy with the steps we're taking today to you know, follow the direction given to us by the General Assembly and implement this program.
And just to point of clarification, though, the laws that we're talking about are referred to the ABC laws. There's nothing to say that any of these businesses, whether they have ABC permits or not, they can still operate their full dining and lunch service. The question has always been about whether or not they can serve alcohol in those spaces. And that's what we're doing tonight, is giving them based on the law, the ability to serve alcohol in those spaces.
Correct. And I think Councilmember Gatt was concerned about, you know, what if some other complication we're not foreseeing in this new law comes up? Do we change our position? And I think what he's speaking to, I don't want to speak for him, but if these aren't utilized, we don't want them there, is kind of what it comes down to. And I did speak to all the businesses about that to get assurances that they're going to use them. One business, one ABC permit holder indicated they would use it whether they had to serve alcohol or not. Another indicated that they wouldn't, and another indicated that I can do it regardless of your law because I already have the ABC permit. So, you know, there's some mixed feelings, but what this does here is this makes it unambiguous. You can do it, given our current understanding of the law. And if that evolves to Councilmember Gann's point, if they're not being used, I don't want them there. I want to see them used, and I'll agree with that if that's the point he's trying to make.
Yep, totally agree.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll call vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Councilmember Gann.
Aye.
All right, Councilmember Stallings
Aye.
and Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. There is no further business. So with that, we will adjourn the meeting. All right, thanks, everyone.